Hello and welcome to Tea and Cornbread, a conversation with Sean and Tracy. I am Sean.
And I'm Tracy.
And we are talking to you all that are 50 and fabulous.
And don't forget handsome.
And we want you to know that we want to get some education happening, some empowerment.
We want to grow with you. We want to learn with you. We want to see what you're doing, 50 and over.
So like, share, comment, follow, subscribe,
grab your
tea. All right. It's Tea and Cornbread. Hey, Trey.
Hey, Sean.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I am good. How was your weekend?
My weekend was wonderful. If nothing else, the weather was beautiful this weekend for us.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It turned out because it was kind of cool yesterday.
You think so?
At the
my
beginning.
Goodness. I thought it was a beautiful day.
I know.
You always a
I
little
like the
chilly,
heat.
though.
I like the heat.
Yeah.
Awesome. So this is Tea and Cornbread with Sean and Tracy.
Yes.
We just love to have people that are 50 and over doing fabulous things. And so today is going to be another great conversation.
Yes.
And, one of our sister girls.
Yeah.
And what I love about this is, we never were disconnected. We stayed connected. But we haven't been around each other in a while. And then just like, Facebook kind of keeps us abreast of what people are doing. And things like that. And how we, you start thinking about the back in the day and all of those things and stuff like that. So we are so excited about this conversation that's about to happen today. But we're going to do our usual.
Yes,
we're going to read our devotional, and then we're going to breathe, and then we're going to get on in the conversation.
Yes, we're going to welcome our
sister
friend.
Yes. So I'm reading from my Bible app on my phone today. It says, the verse of the day is, by the seventh day, God had finished the work he had been doing. So on the seventh day, he rested from all his work. Then God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it he rested from all the work of creating that he had done. So that means we shouldn't be working today.
But this is not work.
Amen.
This is fun.
Yeah,
this is what
fun.
we enjoy doing. This isn't work.
On the seventh day.
Yes.
All right. So we're going to breathe. I have clarity, which is my favorite. So what we do is we put one drop on our hand, and then I'll guide us through the breathing. And this should open up. I'm going to put it on your hand. It should open up your nostrils. Clarity calms our central nervous system. We're going to rub our hands together to conjure up some great energy. And the purpose of our breathing is to center and focus us for this conversation. So we're going to breathe in our intent, and we're going to exhale all that don't serve us. We're going to do it 3 times. Be careful. Don't bring it too close to your nose, so sometimes it'll burn your eyes. But we're going to inhale through your nose, deep breathe, expand your belly, hold it for 4 seconds, and then release. And when you release, you're going to deflate your belly and basically bring it all the way through your belly button and hold that for 4. All right, here we go. Exhale through your mouth. And one thing I want to say is I want to do a short prayer for those that have lost some loved ones. Like we started our conversation behind the scenes about the loss we experienced in these last couple of weeks. And so I just want to say, God cover those families that were impacted by death. Give them peace and serenity, and knowing that God is in total control. And with these things I pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Mona, what's up?
Good morning.
We have Simona Carter with us today. And I mean, we go way back. We go way back. We used to have so much fun in the shop. This is all about the shop talk.
Yes,
you know that, right?
yes.
All about shop talk. And so one thing that I know about you for sure is you love the babies,
Yes.
right? And what I mean by that is your child, you love children, period.
Yes.
And you want children to succeed in all aspects of their life. You want them to be exposed. You want them to be protected. You want to make sure that their rights are covered.
Yes.
You know, when I think about the work you do, and just our conversations, we've had some deep conversations. You know what I mean?
When you think about it, you didn't think about them being deep at
Right,
the time.
right.
But when you think back on them, you're like, ooh,
Right.
when did I get that smart?
Exactly.
It was always there.
You were
It was
always there. I think the things that that we do, because you have that innate ability, right? And when you have that innate ability, then you're born with it.
Yeah.
It's something that you're born with. You know what I mean? Automatically, you know. And so I can't wait for us to like dive in. We're gonna dive in deep, but I want to read a little bit about what you do. I'm going to kind of skim through it, and then I want you to just like go a little deeper,
Sure.
or you know, to say, you know, this is what you do. But she was born and raised in Waterbury, and she spent 25 years working in the human services field. Has a degree from NVCC, Administrative Business Management, Development Family Studies from UConn, and currently working in the Department of Children Family Services, which I think is an awesome, like, trajectory for you. You know what I mean? From where you started to where you are now. That's just my own thought and opinion. She's involved in the Parent Leaders of New England, and through this group is able to provide support for families and community. Currently are working on a community project, which is to deliver laundry products. We're going to really talk about that too.
Yes.
To families in need. Okay. And then she says, I love this community and will continue to support programs in the community that are aimed at the strengthening of our families.
Yes.
Yay, yay, yay. I always press the wrong button.
We're going to switch seats. We definitely going to switch seats.
I'm going to put a mark on this. I'm always pressing the wrong button, but that's okay.
Mona, she
Still.
switched.
Still, it's all right. We
Switch the
clapping it
seats.
out. We clapping it out. Right?
That was good, though. That was good.
So Mona, welcome to Tea and Cornbread.
Yes.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Yes.
And I have two of my favorite people. Tracy, I've known for a very long time,
Yes.
and just a good person. Sean, we are connected. It was great to find out we were connected when I had my baby.
Yeah,
and I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh, that's my baby's cousin.
Cousin, yeah,
And so
yeah.
it just kind of blends. And then I meet Kyle and Skye, and, you know, we've all grown up together.
Yeah,
Definitely.
You
yeah.
know, wood, walnut, you know,
Yeah.
that wow.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
wow.
Right?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
And so this, I don't know. I think for me, I was born into this. I didn't know it, but I was born into this. And I have to thank my mom for all of that. Everything that she gave my brother and I. We didn't have everything, but we had everything that we needed.
You need it, yeah.
You know, and so this is just a journey for me, and I'm just learning to take it at one day at a time, and learning to, the biggest thing I have an issue with is accepting compliments, accepting grace given to me by others. You know, I'm used to giving grace and
Yeah.
giving compliments, but I never accept them for them myself. So I'm learning that right
Yeah.
now.
So
Yeah.
I was about to say,
Go.
right? What we call it is we have those deflection moments. Like when someone gives you a compliment, we're learning to just say thank you, as opposed to saying the same thing back to them. You know what I mean?
Or
It's not
saying
that
a
you
negative.
don't mean it.
Because sometimes I say a negative. Her and Linda always say to me, accept it. You know,
Exactly.
if they give me a compliment, so I totally understand what you're talking about. I always got to say something negative, you know.
So, yeah,
it's hard.
so-
It's hard.
But we want to give you your flowers on tea and cornbread. Yes, yes. That's what this is all about.
Yes.
It's about, opening up to the community to see the faces that are doing things, in our community and in around the world because,
we
we're
going
on
worldwide
YouTube,
too, huh?
right?
Yeah.
But I think an important part is something you just said about growing up, all of us together, and it's funny because Sean and I are from Pearl Lake, which eventually ended up over in the Wood Walnut area as we got older, not just from hanging out and making new friends, but her grandmother was over there. My grandmother was on Oak Street. So we all do have that connection. And one of the things that I like about this podcast is we are talking to our people.
Our people.
And I mean our people that we grew up with, that we went to school with, and we're showing our next generation the faces that are still in our community, fighting for our community. And as Sean was reading, and as I read, definitely all the things that you love to do with children. My first question would be, when did you know this was the path that you wanted to follow and continue on? Because your education and your history, you stayed 10 feet, 10 toes down
Right.
in this for 25 years, which is amazing to me. But as Sean said earlier, that speaks to you just loving what you do for the children.
Yes.
When did you know this is where you wanted to stay?
I can't say that I knew. All I knew is that I loved kids.
Yes.
For whatever reason. Growing up in that Walnut Wood Street area, we didn't have a lot, but we had neighbors, and they cared for us, right? And we had a babysitter that cared for us, and we used to walk to Walsh School, and if I was cutting up on that path, Miss Paris would be like, "Don't make me call Rhoda." And we would keep on walking.
Yeah.
And so I don't know that I ever knew, but I started to know probably about 14, 15 years ago. Really like deep rooted. I know I always wanted to work for the state of Connecticut.
Okay.
Remember when they used to have you go to Cheshire and take those tests and
Yeah.
different things. And I never got in. And I used to kind of feel a little bad. But then I was like, well, maybe it's not my time. Maybe I need to do other things before this happens for me. And so I knew that it was very important to protect kids because of what was happening that wasn't being spoken about. What was important that wasn't being spoken about when it came to kids. And so I want to say, truthfully, when I knew it was important to me, really, my son was about in the 6th grade. And he was struggling with school. And so I was like, what do I do? I was going over there fussing people out, getting kicked out of the building, doing all, because I'm like, you're going to teach my child. I don't know what's going on, but you're going to make it work. And so what I had to find that was very important, which people don't understand, is that you have to have a very good connection with your child's pediatrician, with your child's dentist, and anyone that's connected with your child. And when I started to see that there were people out there who were very connected to my child and who cared for what was happening to him. And so that's when I started to see that, okay, now you really have to stand up. Now you really have to fight. So I left a long career working for the bank and moved into education. It was financially, it was hard. But I can't tell you that I wouldn't have done it again.
Okay.
So I got into the school system. I started to see what was going on. I was starting to see what was happening with our kids. I was starting to see, different things. And I'm not going to say that the school administration was always wrong and the parents were right, or the parents were wrong and the administration was right. It was a combination. And what I found is that nobody was working together
For the kids.
for this benefit,
Right,
this
right.
one goal. And so at that point, I was like, okay, I kind of like this, and then I moved into the high school, and that's where it grew exponentially, because I was seeing what happened with these babies in elementary school. And unfortunately, you could predict they were going to be the same kids with issues in high school. And so when I got to high school, I was working with staff who really cared about the well-being of these kids. And that kind of pushed us along and had us digging into the community and digging into resources that weren't common for our kids. And they started to flourish.
Okay, so give us a resource that's not common.
A resource that's not common is the Ungrouped Society. A resource that's not common, at least for children of color, is neighborhood housing. You know, they know housing authority, but they don't know if you go to neighborhood housing, you could buy a house. You don't gotta rent.
Right. You don't have to rent. Exactly.
They don't realize that if you go to Waterbury, the library, you can get discounted tickets for museums, zoos, and different things like that. But one of the groups that I greatly benefited from when I worked in high school was the Links.
The Links? Okay.
They sponsored trips for my kids. They offered opportunities for my kids. I was able to do an after-school program and also bridge with Sweet Maria. She taught my kids how to make cupcakes and designs and different things like that. And so when we're talking outside of the box, those weren't very those weren't
the norm,
school related resources.
Right.
They were resources outside of the school that provided understanding for our kids and exposure for our kids, right? I took the kids to the United Nations, 10 of them. They'd never been to New York, some of them, never been on a train. And when we got there, they were so intrigued. They met on, video, kids from Mexico and kids from, I believe, Somalia that were in school. And they were talking about what they were learning and different things like that. And what they said to us is that this was the best experience I've ever had.
That must have made you feel wonderful. Your heart was like filled.
They were like, Miss Carter, like, we love you. They see me in the community now. They drop everything. They run. They hug me. This the best lady in the world. and I'm not. I'm just a lady.
You are, though. That's a testament to who you are to them. That's important.
I mean, because the impact, you know what I'm saying? Because impacts are lasting, negative or positive, they're lasting, and you gave them a lasting positive impact by exposing them to something that nobody else would even think. Because, inner city, right? Or urban, whatever you want to call it, right? They just go by yesteryears or, you know what I mean? And they go, they're not going to, we're not going to do nothing because these kids are not going to blah, blah, blah. Where for you, you're like, no, we have to expose them.
Right.
And when you expose them to out of the box, experiences
or different things.
Experiences, then they remember that, right? And you might have sparked the next president. You might have sparked the next person to work for the UN, because who thinks about the UN?
No one.
Right.
I know I don't.
Listen, it's hard.
And I didn't.
Yeah,
right.
And it's hard getting in. Not hard, but all these checkpoints you got to go through.
Right.
But once you get past that checkpoint, that what they call the mall out there is beautiful.
Wow. Look, I want to go on the trip.
I was thinking the same thing.
You know what I mean?
We want to go next time.
Exactly.
We
got some kids to bring a chaperone. No, because seriously though, even as adults, sometimes I've never been to the UN. You know what I mean? Never even thought about it, right? But if I been exposed to that,
right,
I would have, maybe brought my kids or something, because I do museums and things like that with my kids anyway. But at the same
time,
level,
it's a different level of what you're doing with the children.
Right?
Yes.
Because then they can go back in their history class or their economics class or, whatever that is and relate to it now. Now they can connect it. It's like, I know what connects. Right. Because it's not that they're just reading it in a book now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or
to
taking a test. Then they go, oh, I remember that. Yeah. We learned this over there, type of thing. All right.
And so they have something called the United Nations Week, and you have to when they have it, you have to like apply and tell them how many kids are coming or how many people coming or whatever, and then you can sit in on whatever they have going on. So that was a great experience. Even for my own child, he went on that. And so when he graduated high school, he was like, I want to go to California. I said, with who? Right? Because I've never gotten on a plane at that point in time.
Okay.
He was like, well, my friends. I'm like, okay. So his friends kept farting around. They weren't, getting their stuff together so they could go. So he was like, I'm going. I was like, well, with who? He was like, by myself. I was like, oh, okay. Well, make sure you call me. And he called me every step of the way.
Oh, so he did go by himself.
He went by himself.
Oh, okay.
And so when he got there, he was like, Mom, this is beautiful. If I don't call you, I'm not hurt. I'm just exploring
enjoying it.
and enjoying.
Nice.
Yeah.
And so on his way back, he called me. He said he was coming back or whatever. His friend was picking him up at the airport and different things like that. And so that was something that was sparked out of, things that I've exposed my kids to. And back then, I would send my kids on vacation, but I never went on vacation. So I existed, right? Because I was trying to make a life for them. Now I live. Right?
We talk about that all the time, though. It's our turn.
Yes.
It's our turn. But even what you just said, back in the day, that's what happened. 2 weeks, where'd we go? Down south and stayed with somebody down south, or vice versa. Somebody would come up here and stay with us. So our parents weren't going, but they were trying to expose us as much as they could.
Yeah.
So that, you gotta live. We
Yeah.
living.
My grandmother, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't know nothing about traveling. My first time on the plane, I was 8 years old, going to Chicago to visit my cousins that now live in Vegas. And man, ever since then, it was like, oh, we got to go somewhere every year. We got to do something, because we did bus trips and all of that too. So, okay, great. So talk about now that you're in the state, because you were like, I always want to work in the state, whatever. Now that you're in the state, right? Tell us, what is the passion that you have? How are you translating or transferring that passion that you have for the kids into now the families? Because you're dealing with families now, right? And tell us, what are you doing there, and how do you feel about it, and do you feel that you're in the right spot right now to make an impact that you have in your belly? Because you have a lot in your belly. You have a lot, right? And it's going to take time for it to birth or to sprout, right? And sprouting is just, you're what do you call it? Giving it fertilizer right now, you know what I mean? Planting the seed, and then it's going to sprout. Then you got to take care of it. So tell us where you are in that process.
So I started working for DCF 5 years ago. And when I started, I came in as a trainee, and so I had some of the more difficult cases. And so because of those community connections, I was able to bridge services with these families, right? And so they were like, oh, Miss Simone, I never thought about that. Well, or that wasn't for me, but try this. And so when you incorporate things for family that are made for them, not things that they're forced to do,
right?
Because they're like, oh, that doesn't work for me. But you say, okay, I got this alternative. And they're like, oh. And then they start to work, and it starts to build them, and they start to feel better about themselves.
Right.
And you see not only them walking differently, but you watch their kids walk differently.
And that's so important.
Right? And so
important.
like, okay, everybody walking different. Everybody back straight, head forward.
Feel confident.
No looking down. And then that's teaching them how to go out and look in the community for different things. Or they'll come back and be like, Simone, I'm on my feet. There's nothing wrong. I remember you said this. And I'm okay. and then you
now you're
move
their
them.
resource. Now
So,
they're your
yes.
go-to. I'm not calling you because I got something happening. I'm calling you because I'm asking
need
for
some
more
more.
information,
Yes.
more
Yeah.
details.
Yes.
Because I'm moving forward. I'm making steps to, all right, all
making
right.
things better for me and my family. And so when you see them and and like I said, they moving and they walking different and they, different things like that. And then they see me, they be like, oh my God, if it wasn't for her. And I stop them. No, if it wasn't for you.
You exactly, because you had
You
to,
had
you
to
had to make
want
the
it.
step.
Yeah.
You had to
Yeah.
take the step.
And so that is introducing them to the ungrouped society, introducing to them to you. So now that I'm a supervisor at DCF, we had our Black History Month and we wanted to come up with a panel with different things, because what we find is that some of the people who work for us, they don't live in Waterbury, so they don't know the resources. So when you bring people in to say this resource is out there, you give them pamphlets and different things like that, and they're like, oh, Simona, remember so-and-so came? Who was that? We go back, we look for the information, we get it out there to them, because not everything is for everybody.
Right.
And something may spark them or whatever. I have people calling me and saying, Simona, you told me about neighborhood housing, you told me where it was, but it's something else. And I'm like, it's still neighborhood housing, they just changed the name.
Change the name, yeah.
So they're going in there, they're taking financial literacy, they're learning the ropes on how to buy a home and different things like that. That's what makes our community successful. If you have strong families, you have a strong community.
Absolutely.
If you have strong community resources, you have strong families.
Yep.
And I learned that coming up again in the WOW section, because we had new opportunities. That's where we got our jobs.
Yep.
That's where we got rental assistance or whatever it is that we need.
Right.
So back in the day when I bought my house, New Opportunities had a program for first-time home buyers. I went in there, I saved my money, I did what I needed to do, and I was able to buy my house. So if I could do it, anybody can do it.
Anybody
But
can
I
do
think
it.
something that you keep saying too, and I love, you came into your job working at DCF and you exposed not only yourself, but some of the people that you're working with to more education, more opportunities that they should be giving back to these families. That is awesome, because a lot of us only know or think we know one side of DCF. You're going to take people's kids.
Right.
So this
Yes.
is very important to hear you talking about that, because it's more so of a stepping stone. It's not always here to smash you down, to
Right.
belittle you. It is also to educate you, to lift you up, to help you get to that next step. So that's an awesome, awesome thing that I'm hearing you saying. That to me is a transformation of what I know DCF, or thought I knew DCF to be. So your success stories is awesome.
And don't get me wrong, like it was hard coming into this, because when people found out that's where I went, I had people who I've been friends with for years say,
Why?
I don't know why you would do that.
Why?
Why would you do something like that? You know
Yeah.
what DCF is. You know what it does. And they literally stopped speaking to me.
Oh,
Wow.
But Sean, you know me.
Don't matter.
I could give a four-course
Right.
meal.
It don't matter.
Okay?
Right.
But it was hurtful.
You know why? From what Tracy just said, DCF takes kids.
Yeah.
And that's all we know. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you think of them, you think of them as a negative for families. You don't think of them as a positive for families.
Yeah.
And so they are probably thinking the same thing that others are thinking, where
read about it.
you only think
Yeah.
that DCF is knocking on your door not to help you and your family, is to tear your family apart.
Right.
And that's probably why they were thinking like that, like you were going to be on that side of taking people's kids, but this is another reason why we have these conversations, right?
Yeah, you see,
where
you're
it
teaching
is
the other
more
side.
than, yes, you're teaching the other side,
the other
and
side.
you're showing families. And I love that you keep saying families.
Yeah.
Right? Because society is built on tearing the family apart so that they can control people. Don't care what nobody say. That's just my opinion, right? It's out there to tear the families apart.